The courtroom felt heavier than ever, as if years of betrayal, secrecy, and simmering resentment had finally pushed their way into the open. Kody Brown, the man who once prided himself on being the head of a plural family, sat cornered, his words no longer carrying the same weight, his confidence stripped bare under questioning eyes. Christine, the wife who walked away, was no longer the quiet partner in the background. She was standing strong, clear, and unshaken, determined to let the truth be known. And hovering in every whisper, in every side glance, was the shadow of Robyn, the woman whose presence had divided a family, whose influence had changed everything, and whose secrets threatened to topple what little was left of Kody's control. Hi friends, I'm Sophia, and this is TLC's Sister Wives Daily. If you've been following this journey with me, you know we've seen plenty of drama, but what unfolded in this courtroom took things to a whole new level. I want you to stay with me because the details of what was said, how Christine held her ground, and how Robyn's role in all of this continues to shake the family, will leave you stunned. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave a comment down below. Tell me, after everything we've watched over the years, do you believe Christine finally broke free from Kody's grip for good? Or do Robyn's secrets still hold too much power? Your thoughts matter, and I'll be reading every single one. Because today, we're not just talking about a family in crisis. We're watching the moment the walls finally cracked, exposing everything they tried so hard to hide. Christine's journey to this moment in court didn't happen overnight. For years on Sister Wives, we watched her push down her feelings, trying to make the marriage work while Kody's attention drifted elsewhere. She sacrificed, she compromised, she played the role of the dutiful wife, but deep down, her needs were ignored, her voice silenced. That silence finally ended the day she decided to walk away, and in this courtroom, her decision carried even more weight. Christine wasn't just leaving a marriage anymore. She was making sure her truth was heard. When she took her place, the atmosphere shifted. You could feel that she was no longer the woman begging for scraps of attention or waiting for Kody to notice her pain. She had become steady, almost calm, and that calmness carried power. Fans of the show will remember the exact moment Christine told Kody she was done. That same energy radiated here. She wasn't cruel. She wasn't bitter. She was simply resolute. And that quiet strength was more powerful than any angry outburst could ever be. The contrast between her and Meri couldn't have been sharper. While Christine spoke with conviction, Meri looked uncertain, almost fragile. Years of holding on to a marriage that had already slipped away weighed heavily on her. Watching the two of them side by side, you couldn't help but notice how Christine had chosen freedom while Meri stayed chained to hope, even when that hope had long turned cold. Christine's anger at Meri's choices was obvious, but there was also something else, almost a sadness. As if Christine knew what it felt like to hold on too long and hated watching Meri repeat the same mistakes. Viewers who have followed Christine's story since the beginning understood why this was such a breakthrough moment. From the early seasons, where she openly admitted to feeling like the last priority, to the heartbreaking scene when she realized Kody wouldn't even try for her anymore, every step had led to this point. Fans have celebrated her courage because it wasn't just about leaving Kody, it was about reclaiming her dignity. And in that courtroom, as Christine laid out her truth, there was no mistaking it. She wasn't just defending herself. She was standing for every time she was overlooked, every time she was dismissed, and every time her worth was questioned. She was finally in control, and no one, not even Kody, could take that away from her. If Christine's presence in that courtroom was steady and unshakable, Meri's was the opposite. Hesitant, conflicted, and heavy with years of emotional scars. To really understand Meri's position in this moment, we have to go back. Long before the courtroom, long before Christine made her decision to leave, Meri had already been carrying the weight of a fractured marriage. Viewers will never forget the catfishing scandal, the moment she reached outside her relationship for comfort, because inside her marriage there was nothing left. That event exposed just how lonely and neglected she felt. But instead of walking away, Meri stayed. And staying cost her dearly. As she sat in court, Meri looked like a woman who had lost her footing. She wasn't the fierce challenger we once saw in the early seasons, when she was Kody's first and legal wife. She wasn't the loyal partner still trying to make it work either. Instead, she seemed caught between two realities. Knowing deep down that Kody had abandoned her emotionally, but still clinging to the identity of being part of this family. That hesitation was written all over her face. What made Meri's struggle even harder to watch was the way Christine's determination exposed Meri's indecision. Christine had broken free, while Meri still sat in limbo. Fans who had supported Meri through her darkest moments were frustrated, some even angry. How could she continue to defend a man who had made it clear she wasn't wanted? How could she side against Christine when she herself had felt the same neglect? But the truth is, Meri's conflict wasn't simple. For years, her life revolved around being Kody's first wife, the foundation of the family, and the one who had given up so much to build this plural marriage. Walking away wasn't just about leaving Kody. It meant leaving behind decades of her own sacrifice. It meant admitting fully that all of it had been for nothing. And that's a reality not everyone can face easily. Christine's anger at Meri in this moment made sense. She saw Meri's loyalty as a betrayal, not just to herself, but to every wife who had been pushed aside while Robyn's influence grew. But beneath Christine's frustration, you could sense a deeper pain. She recognized that Meri's loyalty came from brokenness, not strength. That tension, between compassion and resentment, was what made their dynamic so powerful to watch. For fans, Meri's presence was heartbreaking because it represented the choice so many women struggle with. Do you hold on to the dream you built, even if it's gone? Or do you risk everything and start over? And unlike Christine, Meri wasn't ready to let go. Not yet. That hesitation, that inability to choose, became one of the most defining images of the day. When it was Kody's turn to speak, the room shifted again. For so long, he had carried himself as the confident patriarch, the man in charge, the one who dictated how things should be. But in that courtroom, that image began to crack. His words came out sharp, defensive, layered with anger. But beneath the bluster you could hear the desperation. Kody wasn't in control anymore, and he knew it. Fans of Sister Wives have seen this side of him before. The temper, the sudden outbursts, the need to dominate a conversation whenever his authority was questioned. On the show, those moments usually ended with someone backing down. But here, it was different. Christine wasn't backing down. The judge wasn't giving him the floor just because he raised his voice. For the first time, his usual tactics didn't work. What stood out most was how quickly he tried to rewrite history. He spoke about being a provider, about sacrificing for the family, about the ungratefulness of the wives who left him. But anyone who had watched the past seasons could see the cracks in that story. Viewers remembered the episodes where Christine begged him for emotional support, where Janelle asked for fairness, where Meri was pushed aside, and where Robyn was given every ounce of his attention. The narrative Kody tried to spin didn't match the reality fans had witnessed for years. And that's where his defensiveness showed the most. The more Christine's clarity highlighted the truth, the louder Kody became. He threw blame in every direction, at Christine for leaving, at Meri for not being fully committed, at the other children for not respecting him. To him, everyone else was the problem. But what the courtroom revealed, and what fans had long suspected, was that Kody's need for control was the very thing that destroyed the family. It was painful, yet oddly satisfying, to watch him squirm under the weight of his own contradictions. He claimed Christine blindsided him, yet he admitted on the show that he told her he wasn't attracted to her anymore. He accused Meri of being unfaithful, yet refused to acknowledge his own abandonment of her years before. And whenever Robyn's name came up, his tone shifted. Suddenly his rage softened. His words became protective, almost rehearsed. It was the clear, sent signal yet that Robyn wasn't just another wife. She was his priority, the one he had built his entire new identity around. For viewers who had followed this journey from the very beginning, Kody's performance in court wasn't shocking, but it was validating. It confirmed what so many had been saying for years, that his version of the story only worked if you ignored the pain of everyone else involved. And this time, in this setting, no one was ignoring it anymore. Robyn didn't need to say much in that courtroom for her presence to be felt. In fact, that's always been her power. Not necessarily what she says, but how much influence she has even in silence. From the moment she entered the family, her role has been a point of tension. And in court, the way Kody deferred to her, the way his energy shifted whenever she was mentioned, revealed just how deeply she shaped the entire story. For Christine, Robyn was the living reminder of everything she had lost. She had spent decades sacrificing for a man who openly admitted he no longer loved her. Yet when Robyn came along, Kody suddenly had endless affection and devotion to give. In Christine's eyes, Robyn didn't just join the family. She dismantled it piece by piece with Kody's help. That resentment hung in the air as Christine spoke, and fans could feel it. What's striking is how Robyn always positioned herself as the victim. On the show, she would cry about wanting harmony, about being misunderstood, about the wives not giving her a fair chance. But in the courtroom context, that narrative felt hollow. Every time Kody defended her, every time he softened his tone when speaking about her, it only proved Christine's point, that Robyn wasn't just a wife, she was the wife. And everyone else was disposable. Viewers noticed the subtle shifts in body language too. When Robyn was mentioned, Kody's posture straightened, his tone became protective, almost desperate. When Christine's sacrifices came up, he dismissed them, minimized them, or turned them into accusations. That double standard revealed everything. It wasn't about fairness, or about keeping the family together. It was about Kody and Robyn building their own unit, while the other wives were left to feel like outsiders in the very family they helped create. For Meri and Janelle, Robyn's shadow was suffocating. Even if they didn't say it outright, their silence told the story. Years of being pushed aside had broken them down, and now in court, their inability to confront Robyn directly felt like the final proof that her influence was absolute. Christine, however, wasn't silent. She made sure the truth was spoken, that Robyn wasn't simply innocent, that her rise to Kody's favorite role wasn't by accident, and that the imbalance she brought into he family destroyed what little unity they had left. And perhaps the most powerful moment came not from words, but from the unspoken truth. That Robyn didn't need to win the argument because she had already won Kody. The court session only made that victory more visible and more painful for everyone else who had given decades of their lives to a man who never truly valued them the same way. The room held its breath when the judge finally leaned forward, ready to deliver the words that everyone had been waiting for. After hours of painful testimonies, defensive outbursts, and raw emotion, this was the moment that would determine not just legal matters, but the future of the Brown family itself. The tension was almost unbearable. The judge's tone was calm but firm, unmoved by Kody's theatrics, unshaken by the emotional appeals, and laser-focused on facts. What became clear in those final minutes was that the court wasn't interested in family drama. It was interested in truth. And that truth painted a damning picture of Kody's leadership, his favoritism toward Robyn, and the devastating impact his choices had on the rest of the wives and children. Christine, who had carried herself with steady resolve all day, finally allowed her emotions to show as the judge acknowledged her sacrifices. It wasn't just about custody or assets. It was about validation. For years, she had been dismissed, gaslit, told that her feelings didn't matter. But here, in this courtroom, an authority outside the family recognized that her struggles were real. That acknowledgement alone was a victory. For Kody, the verdict was a humiliation. Stripped of control, his usual tactics of blame and deflection fell flat. The judge's words cut through his defenses, leaving him exposed in a way fans had rarely seen. His face told the story: anger, disbelief, and finally, the crushing weight of reality. The patri, Arch, who once demanded obedience, was now forced to face accountability. Robyn's reaction was equally telling. Tears welled in her eyes. but not in the same way viewers had seen before. This time, they weren't the manipulative sobs that many fans had grown skeptical of. These tears came from fear that the life she had built with Kody was crumbling under the weight of truth. She reached for him, but even her touch couldn't shield him from the sting of judgment. For Meri and Janelle, the verdict was bittersweet. On one hand, it confirmed what they had always known, that they were neglected, that their sacrifices were overlooked. On the other, it forced them to confront the painful reality that they had stayed in a system that never valued them. Their silence in that moment was heavy, almost louder than words. And as the gavel fell, the courtroom seemed to echo with more than just legal closure. It echoed with years of betrayal, heartbreak, and shattered illusions. Fans watching this play out couldn't help but feel that this wasn't just the end of a court case. It was the symbolic end of the Brown family as we once knew it. The fallout outside the courtroom was immediate. Supporters rallied behind Christine, praising her courage, while critics of Kody voiced what they had always suspected, that his downfall was inevitable. Social media lit up with reactions, each comment underscoring just how deeply this family's story had embedded itself into the public consciousness. For viewers who had been there since season 1, the verdict felt like justice, not just for Christine, but for every wife who had suffered under the weight of Kody's broken promises. The truth was finally spoken, not by the wives, not by the fans, but by a judge whose words carried the authority Kody could no longer ignore. After the gavel struck and the courtroom emptied, one thing was undeniable. The world of sister wives had changed forever. What we witnessed wasn't just a legal battle. It was the unraveling of decades of secrets, sacrifices, and silent suffering. Christine's strength, Meri's hesitation, Janelle's quiet resilience, Robyn's undeniable influence, and Kody's crumbling authority all collided in a way that left fans stunned. This wasn't just television drama anymore. It was real life, with real consequences. Hi, I'm Sophia, and this has been TLC's Sister Wives Daily. Moments like this remind us why this story resonates so deeply. It's about more than one family. It's about loyalty, betrayal, courage, and the power of finally standing up for yourself after years of being silenced. Christine showed us what it looks like to reclaim your voice. The judge's words gave weight to the pain so many viewers had already seen play out on screen. And Kody's downfall proved that no matter how much control someone believes they have, truth will eventually catch up to them. But here's where you come in. I want to hear from you. Whose side are you on? Do you believe Christine's victory was long overdue? Do you think Meri and Janelle will ever fully break free? And what about Robyn? Was she a mastermind, or just another player in Kody's game? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because your voice is what keeps this conversation alive.